Welcome to another Drawing in the Dark. My name is Levi Smith. I draw and tattoo for a living, and today I'm drawing Jeff the Landshark, the most requested drawing on the channel so far. And I think I'll talk a bit about copyrights, plagiarism, and a little bit about AI while I draw this crazy creature. If you want to make requests for what I draw next, hit me up in the comments on Patreon. And along with that Patreon page, merch and other social links are in the description, and I'm always considering commissions. First off, if you're here for a drawing lesson, then watch along. Most of what I'm doing in the piece is pretty self-evident, but calling out the play-by-play is kind of exhausting. Just keep in mind to start off with basic shapes, draw with a soft touch at first until you have your concept worked out. I'm using a ballpoint pen here, but go ahead and draw with a pencil if that's more comfortable for you. Use whatever paper you've got. I'm using an Illo sketchbook because I like the square shape. Use reference if you need, as I am here while I work out the form of this shark dog. Luckily, the absurdity of the creature gives me some room on interpreting his exact anatomy, and this process is sped up to about 10 times, give or take. So an old friend of mine from my self-publishing comics days before the tattooing days has been requesting that I draw this character Jeff the Landshark. And honestly, I didn't know who this character was. I thought he was throwing some random concept at me to get me to draw some oddball shit. But no, Jeff is a legit character from Marvel Comics, and I don't know anything else from there except what he looks like. Maybe in another video, I'll talk about my feelings on the comic book industry, medium, and its cultural impact on our society, but not today. But Jeff is an interesting design, and I'm sure a very fine character. And he seems like he will be a fun challenge to draw. And it seems to me that he's a great backdrop for the subject of copyrights, plagiarism, fan art, and AI. Not that I'm saying that Jeff is plagiarized or AI, but he is definitely copyrighted. So let's get into what a copyright is and isn't, and how to file them. Then move on to what plagiarism is versus reference, homage, fan art, and AI-generated images. Copyright in the United States is actually an automatic thing. As soon as you create a new enough concept, you have copyright to that concept. And while that may grant you some limited amount of protection and the right to serve a cease and desist order on another entity if they use your idea, it's not until you register that copyright with the US Copyright Office that your rights and powers expand to stronger enforcement, such as lawsuits and claims of damage. And while there are companies out there that will help you file your copyrights, I personally would recommend going directly to the copyright website, www.copyright.gov, to get into that process. As far as violating copyright, whenever someone distributes or profits from copyrighted concepts they don't own or have license rights to, it's violating copyrights. And no, drawing a picture of Jeff the Landshark, a property I don't own, and distributing that image on YouTube here isn't really a form of that violation of copyright, as long as the copyrighted material use falls under what's called fair use, defined as media used for purposes like criticism, commentary, news, teaching, scholarship, or research. It could be said that my use of Jeff is part of my commentary and teaching, as I make reference to him in my clever little essay here. But say if I put this drawing on a t-shirt and sold it at a market like a comic convention, that would be a violation of copyright. Which leads me to another aspect of copyright people may not think about directly. Enforcement of copyright is the responsibility of the copyright holder. There is no copyright police, and the regular cops won't do anything. The owner of Jeff the Landshark would have to serve me with a cease and desist letter or lawsuit suing me for damages. If someone took your idea and copied and distributed or sold comics or t-shirts with it, it's up to you to enforce that violation. But if the owner of Jeff the Landshark did choose to exercise some enforcement against me, aside from being squashed like a bug, the potential blowback of a major entertainment company suing its fans for making fan art can have a chilling effect on that fandom. And all the kids and adults that love that property could be potentially turned off their loyalty to that fandom. And if the corporate culture turned towards punishing people who drew their favorite characters, kids and other creators could be alienated from those properties and the company, not only damaging their brand and potential revenue, but shutting out future artists they might hire to make the next generation's versions of these properties. So the general practice is to allow fan art, Even though it might be a technical version of a copyright, those kinds of usage tend to reinforce the brand in the audience anyway, rather than risk the confusion of who owns Jeff the Landshark. Which leads me to another aspect of this can of worms: plagiarism. And while drawing a picture of Jeff the Landshark and putting it on the internet might be copyright infringement, it isn't plagiarism because I make no claim to be its originator. Nor am I reproducing an exact image of Jeff that someone else has already drawn and then claiming that it's my original work. I can claim that this drawing of Jeff is my original work, and even though I did use reference for it, I didn't copy any of that reference directly, and you're literally watching me draw the picture. Now, if someone brought me a picture of Jeff from Google and asked me to tattoo that exact same image on them and pay me, it's still not plagiarism, as I'm not claiming origination of anything but the tattoo work itself. Nor would it be a copyright violation, because I'm not offering that design specifically, but offering the service of tattooing. How well that argument holds up in court, I'm not sure, but it's a rationale that seems to work across the industry as we tattoo well-known intellectual property, or IP, as a matter of course. So while copyright can get a bit squishy, it's actually a sound framework of mediation that allows individuals to expect the value of their ideas to remain theirs and the public right to express that value in a cultural sense. But plagiarism isn't squishy. It's a matter of intent and how that intent is expressed. Claiming origination of a reproduction in any medium of creative expression is lying, while openly expressing the act of reproduction becomes an homage, a cover, fan art, or a master's study. And to be fully compliant with copyright law, you may draw a picture of someone else's IP, but you can't show it online or otherwise make it available in a mass distribution method, like print, TV, or other mass media, unless it falls under that fair use clause. And to fully protect your own IP, you need to file your copyrights, and perhaps trademarks, with the Copyright Office, and be prepared to enforce those copyrights with lawsuits. In general usage, however, no one is hunting kids or adults posting fan art or selling it, and more often than not, these people end up professionals in the field with a profound respect for the art and creators of popular properties anyway, and they may sell unlicensed Deadpool t-shirts and prints of unlicensed pictures of Jeff the Landshark or Sonic the Hedgehog or whatever, and no one cares, at least in the context of corporate IP and fandoms. That kind of usage is almost fair use by de facto. Almost. And if you're going to copy anyone else's work, just be upfront about it. Give attribution, and you'll generally be fine. But don't think that claiming origination, even on the most obscure piece that you may have copied, is going to fly in an era of the social media mass consciousness. There will always be someone who has seen the original of what you've copied and call you out for it. I see it all the time online in Facebook art groups. And if you're looking to get or do a tattoo of a beloved character or a piece of art, then I suggest a couple of rules. If the art is from a corporate source, owned by a mass media entity, go for it. If the art is from an artist you can directly contact and ask for permission, then do so. Reach out online, ask for that permission, and maybe send them a few bucks for the art while you tell them how much you love it. You might be surprised by the level of openness and appreciation an artist will have for that kind of consideration. Most of us see it as an honor to have another human being wear our art. As a young, aspiring artist, learning how to draw superheroes and cityscapes and stuff, I did a lot of tracing myself, copying and studying. I collected Marvel superhero cards so I could copy the poses and character designs, any kind of reference I could find, as it was especially harder to find before the days of the internet. I started collecting all kinds of imagery and covering the walls of my high school bedroom, and eventually got to the point where I could mix and match features and elements, creating slight variations of existing superheroes and developing a sense for that kind of character design, until that evolved away from tropes and stereotypes to more nuanced and realistic concepts that became my own. This process tends to track for any creative endeavor. Quietly and privately copy your heroes, and then add slight variations to that until you develop your own style, and allow that accumulated experience and process to evolve into something that's unique to you. Now, in the case of AI-generated images, I've mentioned in a previous video that I don't see AI generation as a tool as much as an authoring agent. The prompter isn't responsible for the origination of the image, the computer is. And in the same way that an elephant can't copyright its paintings, regardless of its status as real art, the computer can't copyright the image it made, and so it can't be copyrighted. According to the US Office of Copyright, an unaltered raw image generated by an AI system cannot be copyrighted, but a modified one can. So if you correct the extra fingers and other odd hallucinations in the image, then it seems that you could copyright that. The only potential challenger to such a copyright claim would be the machine, I think. And it also seems that the US Copyright Office isn't fully settled with how to address the various questions that arise about the sourcing and nature of AI-generated images and animation. Some things remain clear, such as a company that owns existing IP that is reproduced by AI owns the reproduction as well, which is the same as if I drew a piece of fan art, but can constitute a violation of copyright in a similar way that fan art does, and absolutely is plagiarism by nature of the AI system's sourcing of image data without consent. Just as a tangent, it's been an odd thing I've noticed with a lot of AI images in the past few months. They're getting yellow. I wonder what that is from. And full disclosure, while I have never used ChatGPT or Midjourney or any other AI generator platforms, I have used AI generated images for tattoo designs by client request and of my own choosing, though I use them as I would any other reference and develop my own interpretations. The feet for this creature were an issue for me. I think I should have gone with something more elephant or turtle-like with the feet. It wouldn't have ended up looking so awkward, I think. But that's part of the nature of these drawing sessions. Once I start it, I have to finish it and make any adjustments or errors in the piece of work, or live with it. No erasing with the pen, and no abandoning the piece for another page or sheet of paper. It's beginning to end with no retries. I do it that way because with art school and as a life of a freelance artist and tattooist, I ended up doing a lot of my drawing and design work on a screen in Photoshop or Clip Studio Pro, no Apple, and went a good 5 years or so not working on paper at all. So while I was looking after my dad, I started working in a sketchbook again and realized how different the process was. And maybe out of nostalgia or whatever, I felt a deeper connection to the process and the outcome when working on paper with a pen. There's an honesty to it that to me is undeniable. And you gotta get that kind of truth wherever you can find it these days. At first, I didn't want to make him look too friendly, but then the contrast of him looking friendly while being surrounded by these skulls and bones, I think it was perfect for this bit. As with some of these sketches, the subject comes across easily enough, but the background ends up taking me forever, and I probably wouldn't even finish this shading, especially with a ballpoint pen, if it wasn't for the video. But when it's all done and I flip through this book and see page after page of these completed pieces, it gives me a sense of having done something. Maybe not something worthwhile or profitable, but something personal. And as a commercial artist for so long, having an outlet that is personal is a rare opportunity. I really thought that the more of these videos I did, the faster I would get in them. But no, that was a lie. The tendency, it seems, for me is to do a little more with each video, a little better, hopefully, and keep trying to find a solution to make these more watchable, without falling into some bullshit drama scene or stupid clickbait. Especially when there's so many artists out there making comment, and I'm trying to find where I fit. The 21st century. It's nothing like what we expected. And by we, I mean me. I had higher hopes. Something more Star Trek, maybe. Until I think about how they get to their spaceship utopia, and then I realize we're kind of on track. Thanks for getting this far, not many do. I mean, it's not like getting to the top of Mount Everest, which is crazy, but still, you got here, and I appreciate it. I'm working out some ideas here. I like talking about art, though I don't believe anyone can teach you how to make art. That part is so individual and intrinsic that even though you will find many teachers in life, they can only show you how they or others have done it. No one can show you how you do it. That's a process of discovery and evolution that just never ends. I watched Ironheart and enjoyed it quite a bit, and still looking forward to seeing Fantastic Four. If you want a recommendation for a movie to watch, check out Primer. It's one of the craziest time travel movies I've ever seen. And a classic comic book to read is The Witching Hour. It's a miniseries by Jeff Loeb and Chris Bachalo. A great artsy and deep story that really plays with the boundaries of comic book visual storytelling. I love it. It's a favorite of mine. Seriously, thanks for stopping by and watching to the end. I hope you liked the video. All of this is, of course, just my perspective and experience. If you want to disagree, agree, add to, or otherwise comment on my words and statements, please do. Don't forget to do the like and subscribe thing. You know how it goes. And I'll be back with the next episode much later than I would like.